So in this module, I want to talk about some of the keys to getting discovered on Amazon. We've touched on some of this in the past, but I just want to bring it all home for you and make sure you fully understand how important it is, because in the next week, we're going to actually start building a listing and start talking about exactly how you should create your listing. So these fundamental things are super important. Remember, you have to have the right keywords. And the right keywords, if you've done your research, you've done your competitive analysis, you've used brand analytics, and you have the right keywords that are built into your listing. This is in your title and your bullet points and your description, your back end, all that kind of stuff. You also have to have made sure you're in the correct category. If you're in the wrong category, your listing is just not going to show up. And sometimes there's multiple categories for the same type of product. So what I like to do is take a look at my competition and see what category most of them are in. What are the guys in that are making most of the sales? And that's probably where I'm going to go with first if there's a choice between categories. So that's crucial as well. Now, you can only be in one category on Amazon. Sometimes Amazon will put you into a second category. In the old days, you could request a second category, but now you can't do that. But sometimes Amazon over time, or either manually, someone in the catalog team will actually add a second category if they feel that you're relevant for that, or they're starting to see that you're getting some sales or some cross traffic from listings in that category over to your category, or frequently bought togethers from things in that category. You could actually start showing up in another category as well and be in two, and that's great when that happens. Now, your title is probably the most crucial component of your entire listing, and you only get, depending on the category you're in, Amazon will tell you get between 50 and 250 characters for the title. Typically, I like to keep them under 200 characters, and you don't want to keyword stuff. It needs to make sense. You'll see some titles that just don't make any sense to the user. People are just keyword stuffing in there. But there's certain ways that you can organize your title and try to get as many keywords in there as possible that are relevant to your product, or where you can actually compete. And you can use the X-ray tool, and there's some cool stuff that you can do that Bradley has shown in the past, where you can actually take a keyword phrase and see how many other people on that page are actually have that exact keyword phrase in their title. And sometimes it's very few. And just by putting that keyword phrase in your title, sometimes you can jump up in the ranks really, really fast, because Amazon instantly sees that as high relevancy. So anything in your title is considered extremely high relevancy. And we're going to show you more about how to do that in a later module. But just remember, the title is the #1 real estate for keywords on Amazon. It's crucial. It's vitally crucial. And once you set your title, you can change your title later on. But after about a 30-day period, I would be careful, change your title. Sometimes it can have adverse effects. Sometimes it can really make a huge difference. But just keep that in mind, that you want to try to lock that in as much as you can within that first 30 days. Now, your bullet points, those are the little descriptors that appear below in your listing. Those, you want to actually keep those fairly succinct. You'll see some people that write really short, and that's how Amazon gives the examples. They're 6 or 7 words, but I think you should do actually more than that, a couple sentences, but don't make them huge long paragraphs. You get 5 bullet points in most categories. Some you get a 6th, but in most it's 5. You want to keep those benefit oriented, not feature oriented, but benefit oriented. And good copywriters like Emma, who's talking in the course, can show you exactly how to do that and how to really make your product listing sing. But the first 3 bullet points are probably the most important. Sometimes the last ones don't even show up. They have to click more or something to actually go through those. So those first 3 bullet points, especially the first 2, but the first 3 in total, are super important. And the first 1,000 characters actually in those bullets are actually vitally important to make sure that you get some of your best keywords incorporated into whatever the copy is that you're writing there, and get those in there to show that relevance. Another thing is in the back end, you have what's called search term fields. And search term fields is where you can add additional keywords that maybe just didn't fit logically into the front part of your listing, or it could be alternate spellings or misspellings. Now, Amazon will correct for a lot of misspellings, but there's some that they don't, and you could put those in there. You can also put Spanish keywords. In the United States, there's about 60 million people that actually speak Spanish at home, and there's a lot of search terms on Amazon that actually are done in Spanish. And so maybe it doesn't make sense to put that in your bullet points, but you can put that in your search terms, and a lot of times you can get a lot of extra traffic by focusing on those Spanish keywords. Now, Amazon doesn't want you to put your entire listing in Spanish, They want it to be in English, and they have a translation tool that's an automatic machine translation where they'll actually translate that in the U.S. market if someone's searching in Spanish. But you can put those in your back end, and it can definitely make you relevant for those, and it can help you show up for some of those really valuable Spanish keywords. Another thing you want to make sure you do is you fill in the other field section, and this could be the colors or the material, the battery type, where it's manufactured, its intended use. There's a whole range of these fields that a lot of people just never fill out. But filling those things out can really help you, especially when customers are filtering on Amazon. There's those filters on the left-hand side. If it's hyperallergenic or something, and you don't have that in that filter, when they hit that filter, you're not going to show up in the results. So you want to make sure you fill that stuff out as much as possible. Now, some fields you can't fill out. There's a ton of fields in there, and some of them you can't fill out, but do as many as you possibly can. And you can do this in the GUI, or if you're comfortable with flat files, which are the Excel files you upload, that gives you even more capabilities if you use a flat file and you're comfortable doing that. But that's a little bit more advanced technique, and so I wouldn't worry too much about doing that right now. But for you advanced sellers that may be watching this, flat files can be a great way to get some additional material in there too. Another thing is in your listing description. Now, if you have A+ or EBC content, that's usually going to override whatever's in your listing description. But in some cases, they both show up. In some cases, for whatever reason, the A+ doesn't show up on a mobile device or something, and then that listing description will. Plus, the listing description is indexed by Amazon for relevance. So even if you're using A+ or EBC, you want to fill out the listing description. And that usually they give you about 2,000 characters in there. And remember, you can't use any kind of HTML. Amazon's not allowing any kind of HTML in there anymore. They used to allow some characters, but now they don't allow any. Make sure you fill that out, and especially the first 200 characters of that are critical, because that's what will show up on a mobile device. It's sometimes without people having to click more, and those first 200 characters need to convince them that they actually want to read more and that actually want to find out more about your product. Always check your listing in incognito mode in the Chrome browser. That's the version that basically eliminates a lot of the cookies and everything. It's called incognito, and you can do that in the Chrome browser and check your listing to see how it shows up. Now, rankings for listings vary by location. So you checking your listing in Dallas, Texas, typing in a keyword, you may get slightly different results than your buddy in Seattle, Washington, because Amazon does geo-target and does show things based on what they think is relevant for that area. So results are not always identical across the entire United States. So keep that in mind too. Also check your listings on mobile phones. You can do it on your own mobile phone or your own iPad or tablet if you have one, or there's browsers and websites that will actually show it to you in all kinds of different formats. You can use those to actually check and see how your listing looks, and you may be surprised that certain things are getting truncated or certain words are getting cut off, and it could be affecting your conversion rates. Another thing that you can do is always run ads, even if you're ranked number 1 organically. Why do I need to run ads if I'm ranked number 1 organically? It's because those ads will show up on other people's listings. You may not need to bid high and try to also be in ad spot number 1, but you should still be running ads because Amazon will show those in the sponsored listings on other people's listings. You can do product targeting with that. So running ads should always be part of your strategy, unless you're in a category that doesn't allow advertising. Some categories don't allow advertising. So unless you're in that, you should always be running ads at some level, even if you're ranked well organically. Another thing is consider using outside traffic for getting discovered. Other people like to use chatbots or like ManyChat flows. We're going to talk about that in some later modules, or Facebook ads or Instagram ads. We're also going to be talking about that in some later modules. But those are other ways to help get that discovery going and to help juice the algorithm on Amazon, so that ideally you can get that flywheel on Amazon rolling, so you can count less and less on outside traffic and more on the natural traffic that's already within Amazon. If you're having to constantly prop up your listing with outside traffic just to keep it alive, then you're probably not doing something right on Amazon. The only time you should probably need to prop up with outside traffic after you do a launch is if you're in an extremely competitive niche, such as supplements or something like that, where you really need to maintain a certain sales velocity in order to stay on page 1 for all the organic and natural sales on Amazon. So hopefully this is giving you some insights on the different ways that you need to be thinking about, so make sure you get your listing discovered so that people can buy your product. And we'll talk to you again in the next listing.